Hello, my name is Jack Barrich, and this is Ocean Solutions, a podcast produced by AltaSea at the Port of Los Angeles. AltaSea is developing the most innovative ocean research campus in the world, a place where scientists, educators, and business people can work together on solving some of the world's most pressing problems, including climate change, energy supply, and global food security. On today's show, our guest is Dr. Bob Ballard, the ocean explorer who is most famous for discovering the wreckage of the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic. However, Dr. Ballard has made numerous other important discoveries, including finding hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean, which some people believe could help determine the origins of life on planet Earth. Hope you enjoy the show. Bob, what's the story of the discovery of the Titanic? How is it that you came about that wreckage?
Well, actually, until recently, I couldn't answer that question honestly. But it was a cover story for a highly classified mission I had as a naval intelligence officer. My real mission was to find the nuclear weapons on the USS Scorpion, a nuclear submarine we lost during the Cold War. And we don't like leaving our nuclear weapons around. But we needed a cover because we didn't want the Soviets to put a satellite on me, which they would, and follow me. So I told them I was going after the Titanic, and they didn't put a satellite on me.
So you were looking for the Titanic was your cover story?
Correct. I had to do the military mission first. So I had embedded in my team, unbeknownst to my team members, naval intelligence officers on all three watches who knew who could come into the command center when we were over the nuclear submarine.
So let me get this straight. You're faking to look for the Titanic.
I wanted to do both.
Oh, you actually did want to do both. You didn't just stumble into it while faking it.
No, that was the deal. The deal was I would do their mission first. And if there was any time left over, I could do whatever I wanted. But I must say they were not thrilled when I found the Titanic. The Pentagon was a little upset because they thought I would draw so much attention that they would figure out what I was really up to. But the world was so infatuated with the discovery of the Titanic, they never dug deep into who funded it.
Yeah, and why you were really there.
Yes.
Right. So you're most famous for discovering these great old battleships and aircraft carriers, the Bismarck, the Titanic, the Yorktown. But you also discovered hydrothermal vents and underwater vents called black smokers. First of all, explain to me and our audience what these vents are and what you found within them that surprised you.
Well, the reason they were clearly more important than the Titanic we knew existed. But we stumbled onto a life system on our planet we had no idea existed. And what made it unique was we were always told in our biology classes that all life on the Earth was due to the photosynthesis, that we were in the Goldilocks zone, not too close to a nice sun, not too far away, a perfect little place where life could exist, and that it was totally dependent upon the photonic energy, the photons that come off the reactors of the sun that are caught by the chlorophyll of plants that then begin the food chain. And that's what we were told. So when we first started diving in the deep sea, it's pitch black down there. Most of the Earth has never felt the warmth of the sun because most of the Earth's covered by deep water. And so we were very content to see mostly barren landscape. And then we turned the corner one day and there was this oasis of life in odd, very strange life. Giant tube worms that were 13 feet tall, thousands of them. We called them rose gardens. They looked like thickets of roses because they were sticking their red lung out of their tubes, which was very bizarre. And we brought them up, and there was also these giant clams that were a foot across. And we opened them up, and they had human-like blood inside them. The clams weren't like clams. They had no internal organs. They had a bacterium that had cut a deal with them in a symbiotic relationship that said, let me live in your body while you live in these hot springs. So there were these hot springs down there. And fed by volcanoes beneath the ground. And that hot spring had a poisonous gas in it, hydrogen sulfide, deadliest gas you can imagine. And they were convinced these animals to inhale it and give it to them inside their body. The clams had no internal organs. Their whole body had been taken over by this bacterium that we now call an extremophile, that figured out over eons of time how to duplicate photosynthesis in the dark, a process we call chemosynthesis. And this completely explained the origin of life on our planet. We knew life began in the ocean. We didn't know where. Now we know where it began. And more importantly, these bacterium can survive on meteorites, and it can go to other planets and start life there.
Wow.
And so that just blew the socks off of science. In fact, it's now guiding our explorations to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn that have oceans bigger than ours, where we believe we will find life. So this just opened Pandora's box and shows that there's probably life pervasively throughout the universe. That was a pretty big discovery.
And so I did a little reading on it and understand that also it might prove valuable in finding the actual origins of life on Earth.
Correct. We believe that this is more than likely where it all began, because we know life started in the ocean, because in the early history of the planet we didn't have protection from radiation. So you couldn't, until you got an atmosphere going of oxygen, you couldn't really protect yourselves from radiation. And so we knew that in the ocean it sort of filtered it out. You could start there, but we didn't know where it started or how it started. And now we've found that these bacterium are the basis of all life.
You mentioned space, and I've heard that you happen to sometimes wear this t-shirt that says expletive Mars on it. Why do you think it's more important that we explore the oceans than continue trying to explore space? If we had
Mars is not an option.
Why is it not an option?
Really? You want to go? We can't even terraform the Mojave Desert, and we're going to go terraform Mars? Not a chance. We're stuck. And the next generation does not need to be told there's an escape clause, that you can mess up Earth and we'll go somewhere else. There's nowhere else to go. We can't leave our own solar system. You can't travel at the speed of light. So when they say we found a planet-like object in outer space and it's only a mere 2 million light years away, that's a long trip. So no, we're stuck. And so we need to realize also that 95% of the human race lives on less than 5% of Earth. There's only a very small amount of this planet that we can live on. So we're land animals, but the oceans are going to feed us, because as our population continues to rise, we're losing more and more and more farmland. And we're also reaching a point where the Earth can't sustain humans. We've done the numbers. We know that if all of us were vegetarians, which we're not, but let's just say everyone was a vegetarian, Earth can only support 10.5 billion people, and we hit that number in 2050. We're running out of land. We're running out of farmland, because every time you have more people, you take away the farmland.
So do you think by going into the ocean, we can find some of those solutions to feed the planet?
We're not going to go into the oceans. We'll probably do it all with robots, because it's pretty easy. But we're going to need to go from a hunter-gatherer society, which we are on the oceans. 12,000 years ago, we figured out how to domesticate sheep and goats and cultivate wheat and corn. And we moved from a hunter-gatherer society to a farming and herding society, and from that came the city-state to where we are today. Out in the ocean, we are still hunting. We're hunting down the top predators. We're eating the lions, the tigers, and the bears of the sea. And as a result, 90% of all the large fish in the ocean we've hunted down and killed. So we're almost wiping them all out, because we're eating top predators. We need to do what we did on land. On land, sun comes in, grows grass, chicken eats it, a pig eats it, a cow eats it, a sheep eat it, we eat them. So we're eating at the very efficient level of converting photosynthesis energy into protein and feeding us. By eating a top predator, It's an extremely inefficient way. So we need to eat fish and convert fish, which is now being done, where they're taking fish and flipping them from carnivores to herbivores and feeding them soybean, and it's working.
And so, in your opinion, as we look forward into the 21st century and beyond, it is the ocean that's going to be our solution.
Absolutely. I mean, we have no other way of finding food. It's not about sustaining life in the ocean. It's about vastly increasing its productivity. You know, I was born in Wichita, Kansas, where all oceanographers come from. And, you know, if you look back way before Columbus arrived, and you look at Kansas, it was prairie grass. It took 12 acres of prairie grass to feed one buffalo. That's why they walked all over the place. But then someone said, why don't we plant some corn and wheat, feed a herd? So they took that same piece of land and vastly increased its productivity. That's what we're talking about in the ocean. We have the largest living space where things can live. 95% of all the living space where creatures can live is in the oceans and the high seas. And that's where we're having to turn to find the food of tomorrow.
That's exciting stuff. Hey, Bob, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to have you again out here again real soon. And that's it for today. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Ocean Solutions, produced by AltaSea at the Port of Los Angeles. To learn more about AltaSea, please visit altasea.org.